Hi, I'm Steve Troy, the CEO of Aerofund Financial. The name James Couzens has faded from history. Maybe that's because he was best known for being a politician, and history hasn't been kind to politicians. Although he was mayor of Detroit and later a senator from Michigan, that was really his second career. His first was an association with Henry Ford. You see, all great businesses seem to have great partnerships. Jobs and Wozniak, Bill Gates and Paul Allen, Carnegie and Frick, Hewlett and Packard. In many of these cases, the partnerships have a front man who gets the publicity and the other who grinds away in anonymity behind the scenes. That was the case of Ford and Couzens. Ford and Couzens met in 1903 when Couzens was a clerk at a coal company and Henry was looking for investors for his now famous Ford Motor Company. Couzens, with the encouragement of his boss, Alexander Malcolmson, who was also an investor, borrowed heavily to raise $2,500 to buy 25 shares of Ford stock. Malcolmson, as a major investor, wanted Couzens to join the newly formed Ford Motor Company to look after everyone's investments. Couzens, with Alexander Malcolmson as treasurer, investor John Gray as president, and Henry as vice president, became Ford's corporate secretary. Ford was known as a great engineer and not much of a businessman, so Couzens was installed to keep the business organized. With the death of John Gray, Couzens and Ford shrewdly maneuvered, pushing Malcolmson out of Ford in 1906 and forced him to sell his stock at the rock-bottom price of $175,000. The path was now clear for Couzens, who took the helm as vice president and general manager, and Ford taking the position as president. It was said of the duo, Couzens couldn't assemble a kiddie car, and Ford couldn't manage a grocery store. But together, they were unstoppable in creating one of the most successful and famous automobile companies in the world. By 1915, the Ford Motor Company was highly successful, bringing in millions. With success, there brewed resentment between Ford and Couzens over who was the most responsible for the success of the company. With their partnership wearing thin, Couzens had had enough and resigned from the company. Couzens wasn't a fool. He knew the value of Ford, and he shrewdly kept his board seat and his stock. In 1919, when Couzens was elected mayor of Detroit, Couzens decided the time was right to sell his shares. Couzens' investment in 1903 of $2,500 was now 16 years later worth a staggering $30 million. With such wealth, Couzens set out as a philanthropist, setting up the Children's Fund of Michigan with $10 million personal grant and giving millions of dollars to the Michigan Children's Hospital, with even more millions given to build affordable housing in Michigan. When a disgruntled school board member blew up the Bath Consolidated School with dynamite in 1927, killing 36 children and 6 teachers, Couzens provided the money to rebuild the school and showed compassion to the families as he rolled in as Senator of Michigan, a position he held until 1936. James Couzens passed away in 1936, leaving a legacy of philanthropy and business success in the league of Carnegie, Rockefeller, and Vanderbilt without the name recognition. But now you know the life of Senator Couzens, businessman, politician, and humanitarian. If you are looking to leave your mark and need help and support, take a minute and give Aerofund Financial a call.